Welcome back, everyone, to Getting In. We are talking about the Yale Supplement, and we've got a lot of questions to cover, so I'm jumping right in. Joining me is my colleague, Amy Alexander, who also happens to be not only a Yale graduate, but also a former admissions officer at Yale. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us today. All right, Yale, they have 8 supplemental essay questions. Before we jump into those, curious, what's your take on what are they trying to get from applicants with these questions?
Good question. And I think just to kind of share, I think they're asking for 8 because they want to make sure you're pretty darn serious about applying to Yale. I
Right.
mean, no one's going to tackle 8 essays. I mean, a bunch of them are very short, which people think, oh, that's easy, 35 words, but it's actually harder. But what Yale is really, let's first look at what is Yale looking for? I think one of the short answer, the 35 word or fewer question answers is really hits the nail on the head. The one that says Yale students embrace the concept of and rather than or, pursuing arts and sciences, tradition and innovation, define goals and surprising detours. What's an example of and that you embrace versus or?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Yale's looking for. Back when I was at Yale and all of my peers, back when I was at the admissions office and we looked at the application files, it was students that were engaged and involved in more than one thing. Now, a lot of students that are engaged and interested in multiple things, but they really had two or three things that they excelled at, that they really dove into. They were often right and left brain. They were often engaging and interested in maybe, I was a competitive swimmer and I loved languages and culture and communication. Mm-hmm. People communicated. Other people maybe really love biochemistry, but they also love history. Right. They always tend to have more than one. And this question, which is, I don't think any other college asks it, really shares what Yale is looking for.
Right. So when you're answering that those are the things you need to go to, correct? The your own personal and like you just shared with us that it was you were a swimmer and you loved communication and connecting. And yep. As students think about answering that one, we would encourage them to focus on that. All right, awesome. So we've got one of them out of the way. Let's go up to there are 2 that are 125 words maximum. And one of the things that Yale asked you to do in the beginning of their application is to select 3 academic areas of interest. And then their first question is basically, why these 3? They say, why do the 3 academic areas you selected above appeal to you? And 125 words, any specific advice on that one?
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because it's very short, right? So you think, oh, I can only cover one of my areas. Let's say you're interested in econ, international relations, and political science, right? I mean, mm-hmm. they're kind of common, right? What Yale also likes is people that approach things in a interdisciplinary approach. So you might say how you're really probably going to major in economics, but it's that global approach that most interests you. It's how governments make policy changes that affects the economy that most interests you. So because it's 125 words and you have 2 or 3 majors you're listing, how do they overlap? How do they connect? And I think, now you might also have history, econ, and, art or something, and that's fine. And you might add a line about that. Or you might not even mention the art one and just talk about the other 2. You don't have to cover all 3. Mm-hmm. But kind of connecting your interests is also something I think Yale looks for, is how you connect things, because they don't tend to pick narrow focused people. They tend to pick people that look at things in a bigger, broader way.
Right. Great. I love it. Love that insight. The next 125 word max question is, what is it about Yale that has led you to apply?
Yeah, that one, people will come up with all kinds of things and, they'll do what my biggest beef is when I'm reviewing essays, especially right now, is students that respond in very broad general terms.
Yes.
Students do. Oh, New Haven is a manageable size city. It's not a big city like Chicago or New York City. Well, don't talk about other cities and don't talk about things you don't like. Talk about why you like Yale.
Right.
So for this one, I want you, because it's 125 words, pick something very specific. It could be the Gray Strait Alliance organization and the way Yale interacts with New Haven and the community in that organization. That could be your 125 words. It might be a specific professor that is doing really cool research that aligns with some of the stuff that you started kind of getting interested in high school. Pick one or two things that are very specific to Yale, a course, a professor, an organization, and really share how that aligns or matches or connects to you more personally.
Right.
The more personal you get, the better.
And for the love of God, this applies to Yale or any other why this college, small essay, big essay that you're writing, that they're an Ivy League, that they're so prestigious, that they're so wonderful. Please, please leave it at the door. Nobody cares. They want to know why you are drawn to this school, and you need to be specific. And if the only reason you like Yale is because it's an Ivy, well, they're not. Say goodbye, because you're not getting in. I don't really know any other way to say that. Doesn't work.
I'll add to that. I have a student that I'm working with right now who happens to love Yale. And, his dad keeps saying, you're not showing your achievements enough. And this is a brilliant, interesting, insightful. I really enjoyed talking to him. I enjoyed reading his essays. And he happens to be a very modest young man. And I said, you have a gift. Because so many people would love to learn how to do that. Mm-hmm. He has done that naturally. And I told his dad, no, actually, he's already doing it. What you're doing is going to cause him to get denied. Right. So I don't want people, it's interesting. I was telling you before, I just had lunch with your co-vice president of College Coach, and she happened to have gone to Brown. I went to Yale, and we were both saying in high school, we never even thought about college or kinds of college. I knew I was going to swim in college. I knew I needed a really curious intellectual environment to stimulate me, but I didn't know names or anything. And we just were thinking about learning and growing and doing our extracurriculars. It's those kinds of kids. It's not the ones who are strategizing and planning. It's the ones that are just doing because they're doing.
Right. And are applying to the school because truly they've done their research and this school is the right fit, not just part of a sports conference. So,
well, and also, by Yale, I don't understand the students that are applying to Yale and Dartmouth, right, and Princeton. Those Harvard and Princeton may be a little bit more together, but Yale, maybe Brown and Columbia, yeah. But you have a small inner city school. You have that kind that looks at kind of that multi-interdisciplinary. You have to look at the school that's the right match for you, because that's actually where you're going to thrive. Right. You're not going to thrive because there's a name.
Right, exactly. And yes, every year we hear about this kid who gets into all the Ivies, but that is a rare thing. And there are usually a lot of other things at play there. And the fact of the matter is that you're going to be more compelling at the school that really is a good fit for you, because it's going to come naturally to talk about why. All right, we've got a lot to go through, so we're going to move on from this. But okay, so then Yale has 4 35-word essays. We already talked about one, which is the and versus or. There's another one. What inspires you? What do you encourage students to think about here?
Yeah, what I love about Yale's array of essays is they are truly trying to get to know you. The academic you, which was that first 125-word question, the personal you, right? Mm-hmm. So don't feel that everything you write has to be academically focused. They want to get to know who you are as a human being. So what does inspire you? Maybe it's your mom. Maybe how she works and manages the house and keeps everyone in check in your family. Maybe it's some incredible astrophysicist that's a role model to you. Maybe it's your teacher. Maybe it's your dog who calms you. It doesn't matter. But it just anything that inspires you, don't overthink it. Pick the actual thing and go with it.
Right. Sounds great. Love it. Okay, next one is you're teaching a new Yale course. What is it called? Again, it's 35 words.
Right. And I love this one. And I have a student who's, I've had so many students write really cool ones about this. One wrote about something to do with food prep, because during COVID, he really got into helping his mom and do food preparation, even though he's a chemist. Another one wrote about the one who was interested in kind of in more language and communications like me, and we had a lot of fun with talking about that one. But remember, you're not writing out kind of a why or whatever. It's just the name of the course and a title. But this will show a lot about your personality, your interests. So if you have an interest that's a little different, a little quirky, write that. And it could be anything. It could be about making donuts. It could be about, sitting at the beach and just watching the water. It could be about looking at the stars every now and then. It could be about watching your favorite reality TV series. I mean, it doesn't matter. It will just show a different side of you, which Yale wants to see.
Right, exactly. Not everything has to be ultra serious. Okay. Yale's residential colleges regularly host conversations with guests representing a wide range of experiences and accomplishments. What person, past or present, would you invite to speak, and what would you ask them to discuss? Again, 35 words.
Yeah, this is another one. This is a huge thing at Yale. We are broken down. Well, we used to have 12 residential colleges. Now there's 14, and they're even building more. But it's a really neat thing that you're part of this kind of home, this smaller home within the larger Yale undergraduate college, within then Yale University. And they do have deans and assistant deans in each one, and they invite speakers regularly. And they come and you sit, you have coffee or tea, and you listen to these fascinating people. They could be world-renowned, scientists or historians. They could be dancers. They could be artists. They could be controversial people. They could be lobbyists. They could be, all kinds of things. So they want you to look at, again, it doesn't have to be serious. It can be. It could be, you're really you run the debate club at your school or science Olympiad, and you're like, oh, I want to invite, one of my role models or someone I've read about. Great. And what would you want to know? What would you want them to share with you? Or it could be something kind of silly or something lighter or something reflecting your interests or your approach to life. So again, this is showing your personality. And then, of course, what would you want, them to speak about? You might pick someone who is a famous scientist and say, what did you talk about at the dinner table? And it's not a serious question. You just want to know what they were like as an everyday person. That's okay. That humanizes you.
All right, we have 3 minutes to get through 3 questions. So Yale has 2 more essays they ask you to write. Each of these are 250 words. One you get a choice, one you do not. Here's the one you don't get to choose. Yale's extensive course offerings and vibrant conversations beyond the classroom encourage students to follow their developing intellectual interests wherever they lead. Tell us about your engagement with a topic or idea that excites you. Why are you drawn to it?
So this one, I tell students, you can write again about that one you talked about, your econ or your top interest, right? Mm-hmm. And in a different light or more specifically, or share what is it about it that you're so excited about? The first one you're talking about, maybe what Yale can do for you. But this one is, how did that interest develop? How, what are you doing to nurture it? Or you might pick, maybe you have your econ, poli-sci, international relations, but then you're really also fascinated by biology or who knows what, right?
Right.
You can write about that topic here.Maybe you sit at night and to get away from your AP econ homework and you go down a rabbit hole learning about something else, how to solve the Rubik's Cube and how to whatever. Maybe that's a topic, games and puzzles. That's okay to write about too, because that is an intellectual exercise and it's something different. So totally fine to follow your main interest, but also okay to kind of go with something different.
Okay. All right. Last one, you have a choice. So you pick one of these 2. Reflect on a community to which you feel connected. Why is it meaningful to you? You may define community however you like. Quick ideas for this one?
Well, and kind of, you look at both of these. I often tell students, to be very honest, if they're applying to other schools, early action or rolling, or they're planning for regular decision, a whole bunch of them, this community essay is a very common one. A lot of colleges ask this in some form, and they're typically 250 words. So if you are, what I tell students, and this isn't just for you, all of you that are planning to apply to Yale, but look at all of your supplements of the colleges you're interested in. If you see a lot of overlap, pick them.
Right.
So because this community one is pretty common, I tell students go with that because you're going to use that for multiple essays because it's going to be the same. It's not Yale specific. So for this one, it really could be. It could be your family community. It could be, for me, it was my swim community. For other people, maybe it's the theater. Other people, maybe it's some club they run. You know, I have a girl this year who started an origami club during COVID. And that is now her community of people all over the world because they met via Zoom and
Right.
other methods. So she has this community that she didn't have before. So community can mean anything. Don't stress if it's like, oh, it's my town or it's my, no, community can be defined in a very small way. It could be your 5 best friends as your small little community that you rely on, or it could be something kind of bigger and broader.
All right, awesome. Last one, really quickly. Reflect on something that's given you great satisfaction. Why is it important to you?
Yeah, this one, because students have a lot of fun with. This is not asked often. So if you really do want to share that, I've had kids say, eating ice cream during the summer, teaching little kids how to swim, going for a jog in the rain, really, or, going down a rabbit hole with a really interesting topic. What I would do with this last one is look at the rest of the essays. Did you cover all your interests? Did you cover things that are really part of your identity, really define who you are? And if there is something that wasn't covered, share it here.
Perfect. Amy, thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
All right, when we come back, we are talking about the Schreyer's Honors College Supplement, which is 10 essays. Eek! So don't go away.